We are back. It's been a minute. It's been a few weeks. This is the first time in our history that we've actually taken a few weeks off during the holidays. So yeah, we're glad to be back, but also, man, we are not good at taking time off. And it's kind of nice. Marissa messaged me and she's like, is it okay if we take a little break? And at first I'm like, no. But then, you know what? I looked through some of the podcasts that I listen to, and they take breaks. Some of the biggest podcasts in the world take breaks. And you know what?
To break.
It was kind of nice to take a break, as much as I love doing this every week, it's like, it's nice to take a little breather. So we've taken a breather. It's the holidays are halfway over, and we're back. And now we've got a post making the rounds on Instagram. All of our friends have shared this thing. Marissa and I both got it at the same exact time. It's almost like a viral article, but it's actually like a 16 slide reel on Instagram and all of our
viral in the world of digital nomads. Could strike an accord.
It's 41,000 likes. It's viral in the sense of viral. I don't know. It's like okay, maybe it is a digital nomad lot, but so this is it's labeled here as relational psychologist Nora Wendell. And the title of this thing, we're actually going to read the whole thing to you, is Dating Isn't Just...
And then we'll give you our opinions. But I do think it's worth the full read for you guys to listen to, because it struck a chord with many of us. So if you're considering digital nomad life or already living this lifestyle, I think it will resonate with you. So with that, Jeff, break it down for us. Give us the read.
Yeah, I initially fought it a little bit in my head. I'm like, no! But, we try to be honest with ourselves and with you guys about this life and what it's all about. So we're going to take this objectively, and I'm going to fight a few things and then also maybe reflect on a few things. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe agree with some of it. Okay. Yeah, so we got to give you the whole thing because it is interesting and it may strike a chord with you as well. So the title of it is Dating Isn't Just a Disaster in Bali. It's a disaster in Tulum, Ibiza, Costa Rica, Cape Town, Lisbon, Mexico City. Everywhere the freedom lifestyle, quote unquote, took hold. But it's not about dating. It's not about the location. It's about what happens when an entire generation chooses freedom. The freedom lifestyle promised liberation, adventure, authenticity, connection on your own terms. Live anywhere, work remotely, no obligations, maximum flexibility, build the life that you want without compromise. It sounded perfect, and for a while it was. But here's what it actually delivered. Freedom and profound loneliness, options and inability to choose, movement and nowhere that feels like home. The promise was freedom without sacrifice. The reality is freedom with a cost no one talks about. Sociologist Zygmunt Bauman, I hope I did that right, called this liquid love. Good, all right. That's the best you're getting out of me. It's my best Bauman. In liquid modernity, everything flows. Nothing is solid. Your location is temporary. Your job is flexible. Your relationships are seeing where it goes, quote unquote. Your friendships are transient. Bauman describes modern people as the man with no bonds, no roots, no ties, no lasting connections. Free to move anywhere, but belonging nowhere. And here's the problem. You can't build solid in a liquid life. Not partnership, not community, not depth. Solid things require staying, but liquid life requires moving. These two things are fundamentally incompatible, and we're all pretending that they're not. Consumer culture teaches us instant use, immediate satisfaction, minimal effort. Not working, return it. Found something better, upgrade. Requires work, replace it. This works for products. It destroys relationships and community because love and community require what consumer culture opposes. Courage to say when it gets hard, faith that it's worth the difficult discipline it takes to show up when you don't feel like it. But we've been conditioned for easy. So when relationships require courage, faith, or discipline, people leave. Not the relationship, the entire city. Not working here? Let's go to Lisbon, Cape Town, Mexico City. Before anything has time to deepen, they're gone. And they call this freedom. Here's the paradox. These places have the most concentrated collection of attractive, interesting, successful people in the world. And yet, everyone says the same thing. There's no one available. How is that possible? Because everyone is optimizing for the same thing. Freedom, options, flexibility, which means no one is optimizing for commitment, depth, and staying. When everyone is the man with no bonds can form because people are unavailable because they're damaged. They're unavailable because the lifestyle requires it. You can't be fully available and maintain total freedom. You have to choose. And everyone's choosing freedom. Then they wonder why they're alone. We trade depth for novelty, commitment for options, community for independence, roots for movement, being known for being free. And we didn't realize these were trades. We thought we could have both, the freedom and the depth, the option and the commitment, the movement and the belonging. But life doesn't work that way. Every choice has a cost. We chose freedom. The cost is loneliness. We chose options. The cost is inability to choose. We chose movement. The cost is never arriving. And now we're paying it, but we're still not willing to admit what we traded away. The question isn't, where can I find what I'm looking for? The question is, what am I actually willing to sacrifice? Will you stay somewhere long enough for depth to form? Choose one person over infinite possibilities. Show up to community when it's inconvenient. Give more than you take. Stay when it gets boring or hard. Build bonds that limit your freedom. Most people aren't willing because that means admitting the lifestyle itself is a problem, not the location, not the people, not the quality of the dating pool. The choice to live without bonds is the choice to live without a certain depth. And you can't have it both ways. This isn't about Bali or Tulum or any specific place. It's about what happens when the man with no bonds becomes the cultural ideal. It's about being the generation that broke the chain. Our parents built, they stayed in the jobs they hated, they stayed in towns they outgrew, they stayed in marriages that weren't perfect. And we looked at their lives and said, never. So we did the opposite. We optimized for freedom, for flexibility, for options. We built nothing we couldn't leave. We committed to nothing that could trap us. And we became the freest generation in history and the loneliest. Because what our parents had that we rejected wasn't just constraint, it was also community, depth, belonging. You can't have one without the other. And we chose freedom. The question is, did we win or we just trade one kind of trap for another?
Oof, that end gave me chills.
Yeah.
It's so good. I feel like I'm like, where do we even start? I want to pull out like so many threads, but before we dig in, we have like some themes that we're going to go through and share whether we agree, disagree, maybe there's a middle ground to some of these. When you first read this, what was I know you mentioned a little bit at the beginning, like what was your initial reaction? Were you like, this is true, we're all lonely, or like, it's not quite accurate? Like, what did you feel when you first, because this is making the rounds, like a friend sent it to you, a friend sent it to me, we have a bunch of people of our friends who have liked it, like it's clearly striking a chord for a reason.
Yeah, my initial reaction was, fuck you, Nora Well. No, I'm just kidding.
But sort of. The ego, the mind, the brain's reaction was probably that.
Yeah, Nora, I'm sure you're a wonderful person. You bring up a lot of fantastic points. No, this is just an ego gut check, vibe check.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, my immediate reaction was I agree with a lot of it, and I disagree with a lot of it.
Okay.
And I think
like it.
I think it very much depends on the person and their reasons for doing things, and how they go about living the lifestyle. I see this argument as a binary. It's all this way, it's all that way. And I don't think life is a binary ever. I think there is a gray area. I think people lean way in deep, and it is 100% what she's saying. And for some people, it's 50% what she's saying. Some people, 25% what she's saying. So I think it's a little bit of an over sensationalization of it.
Right.
Is my gut check on it. How about you?
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like if I had read this like a year or two ago, I also would have been like, fuck this. Like, that's not true for everybody. Like, that's not true for me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But then I feel like the friend who sent, Danielle sent it to me actually. She didn't like say anything with it. Sometimes when we send things, it'll like, you know, like we'll like send a comment with it. It wasn't like, you should look at this. But as I read it, I was like, oof, like maybe I should do some internal digging of like, have I been running away? Like, have I not been staying when I should? Like, that was kind of what when I was reading it, trying to question myself of like, is there more truth in this than I want to believe or have given myself credit for? And I did have someone today, in fact, in my life tell me that I can't have my cake and eat it too. And I've been trying to do that for a long time. So people reflect, you know, our good friends who are deep will reflect those things to us. So I'm sure there are some truths in it. I think like, And I want to dig into some of the nuances for sure. I think the overall thing, like what you said, is like there are some truths. Depends like who it is that's living this life. Are you running away from everything? Like we have also found ways to make amazing friendships, with our Nomad friends. You and I have run this business for over 5 years. Like we committed to each other for this. We have stayed like, like it's not like we're running away from everything. We haven't committed to anything in our lives. But I think one of the big takeaways I have from this was just like those hidden cost of things, of like you are sacrificing and giving up some things, and we'll get into some of it. But one of the biggest things I felt like I wrote down was like we thought we could have both freedom and commitment. And I think there are ways that a lot of us have found to have it without like to have our cake and eat it too, like in a way that the past generation hasn't, but there are costs too. And the other quote that just stuck with me when you said is movement with nowhere that feels like home, where I was like, I think a lot of us have really like who have been nomading for a long time have stumbled into that, so we can get into it. But those are kind of my first overall thoughts, but I want to jump into the things.
And before we jump into number one, we get asked constantly, a surprising amount given all of the facets of digital nomad and remote work life, is tech questions, specifically like how do you get data abroad, and how do you use your cell phone, and what is an eSIM, and all of these technical questions that we had to learn through lots and lots of trial and error, and sometimes putting MiFi devices up in baskets above the streets in Florence to get data. Recently, my brother went to Japan and he got back and found out that AT&T was charging him $12 a day to use his phone internationally, and had no idea that was happening. Yeah, I know. We had to call him with a bill because it's like a family plan. He's like, what is this? So there are solutions out there. So as you know, when you're traveling, if you have the roaming button on there, all of a sudden you can get extremely high bills that come as a bit of a surprise to you. Or you could have plans that kick you off. I've had that happen with lots of our friends. What was it? Google Fi used to do that quite a bit. All of a sudden, guess what? You don't have a phone number anyway. Why pay these roaming fees when you could instead use something like GigSky? That's GIGSKY. Instead, they give you coverage in over 200 countries, and it's the only eSIM that also provides coverage on cruise ships as well. I don't know any other service that actually does on cruise ships. Like Nomad Cruise would be a good example, right? If we're keeping in the theme of things. So for a fraction of the cost, you can get cellular data no matter where you travel.
Amazing. And during the holidays right now, you can get 40% off when you check out the link in the show notes here. So with that, those are from our sponsors from GigSky, and we will jump into number one of our thoughts on this Instagram post. So what's number one, Jeff?
So the first note is the hidden costs of freedom, right? So what they're explaining here is that, yes, you get freedom, but there's a consequence to every one of these choices. There's a flip side to everything that you get. You don't get to have your cake and eat it too. You're trading something out. So I think a few of the things that I got out of that was, with all of these options, nowhere feels like home, right? Because you're almost like you've seen so much that it's broken you and you're looking for perfection,
Yes.
And and that's really tricky when you've got too many options that you're never willing to make something work, that you're just, because there's always chasing something around the corner. You need that next novelty fix that you've got. And that quote in here, feeling like you're always leaving and never arriving, I felt like that for a while after digital nomading, going to too many places, and I'm like, oh no, I've lost the excitement. Like, you ever seen the Polar Express, the Christmas movie where he doesn't hear the bell anymore?
Oh, what an example!
Yeah, it's
like,
oh my god, I felt like I didn't hear the bell anymore, and that's
Jeff.
Oh, then I got to Puerto and stayed there for 4 or 5 months. Maybe that's the trick there.
The solution.
But yeah, I mean, there is a cost for everything.
Yeah.
So I would in a sense agree with a lot of that theme. What about you?
Yeah, that's like the quote that I mentioned before, where it says movement, but with nowhere that feels like home. So when I first started this life, I was so naive. I knew nothing. This was like so many years, almost 10 years ago. And I was just like, I can travel everywhere, anytime. I had no idea I would be doing this as long as I did or have. I didn't know it would be such a thing in life. I was just like, I have the freedom to go and see everywhere. And then with that, like everybody else I knew was building homes in, mostly in the States, either in Atlanta or New York or California or, wherever all my friends were. And it's interesting when you can be anywhere and everywhere, when you have lived all over the world and all different continents and all different countries, it's like you suddenly have been gone so long that like, no, your home doesn't really feel like home anymore, because the people, like, you've changed a lot from all you've experienced, and the people back home haven't in the same way. They've changed in their own ways, but you're very different. And then like you don't really have a home elsewhere, because like you said, when you're free to be anywhere, it's like, do I want to go to this small town beach for so long, but like it's getting a little too small town, so maybe I'll go to a city for a little bit, and then like I want to be there for a little bit, and then like I have the freedom to be everywhere, but like no one place really satisfies you in the same way, because it's missing something you knew. And it kind of reminds me of people who like have dated a ton of, like, there's the people who are just like, you find a person, you're like, that's fine, and then if you've dated a lot of people, it's like, well, this person had this, and this person had this, and this person had this, and no one person can satisfy all of the things. And it's like I think that people don't talk about this enough of nomad life, is you kind of get like exposed to everything, and like no one thing is ever satisfactory in this weird way. And you also, the freedom to be anywhere is kind of overwhelming sometimes when you don't know where to go and what to do, and literally nowhere feels like home unless you choose to, like, not that you have to go back to your hometown, but you kind of have to choose somewhere to like really feel like home. Now, we've found home in people for sure. We'll talk about that throughout, but there are all these, the quote hidden costs of freedom, that like you're kind of always leaving or going, or nothing's ever quite good enough, or you kind of want the next thing, and you're never really stable. It's like, it's a weird thing. And it took a lot of years to get there. At first it was just really fun. And then I think a lot of us, as we've seen, I think once people kind of hit the even maybe 3-year mark, but I would say really like 5 years, 6 years, 7 years into this life, the novelty of it starts to wear off a little bit. It's still amazing to see, like, the bell stops ringing. Sometimes you still get to places that feel amazing still. And I wouldn't trade it still. Like, there's still, like, you and I just spent, over a month in Costa Rica, and it's like getting cold in the States. Like, I don't regret that. I still like it, but it is coming more and more now with like, I want to feel home somewhere. Like, I want to have stability and things, but I don't know where to put those things, and no one place is satisfied. It's like, it's very confusing still.
Yeah, it's true. It just takes time to build routines and stability and roots in a place. And like, as far as becoming part of the community, you're like not just taking a little sample of it, you're actually, becoming part of it. And when you're just transient, it's like Vegas. Nobody's actually from Vegas. Nobody has Vegas culture. Nobody has Vegas loyalty. They're just passing through. And people that are passing through don't establish any core relationship to the place or the people. And so I can kind of see that. And I think that's part of the reason I don't want to just pass through places anymore. Yeah. I want months in a place.
And it's interesting, like, it's not like once, I don't know, if you're listening to this and you haven't started nomad life yet, like, I wouldn't have traded those beginning years for anything. And I loved sampling all the different places and seeing where I wanted to stay longer or not. And we found those. So I think there's a solution to it, right? It's like, one, we made a lot of nomad friends who feel like home everywhere we go, and that was important for us through Wi-Fi Tribe. But two, you also can stay. It's not like once you've started, you're going to be like lonely and not feeling home ever again. Like, we have nomad friends who have settled down in Cape Town and Germany and Mexico and, like other countries, Spain, other countries other than their own. Or some people nomad for a while and go back home and like choose to build roots back where they left from. So it's not like once you go, you can never have roots again, but it's just something to think about that, like, I never knew before. So we want to share that,
Yeah. Let's jump into number 2. So This is one that we've actually talked about quite a bit. Paradox of choice. Paradox of choice basically means if you've got too many options, you either paralyze and choose nothing, or you stress about having chosen the wrong thing. This was what was the jam experiment, the jam study? They give people, say, like a dozen different jams to choose from, and then another group of people like three,
and then like 22.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, and the people that had more options hated it. Like, it was a bad experience for them. And the people that had three, it's a good experience for them. I mean, like
like the more flavors, the better. Like, you'll find the one that you like, but then you get overwhelmed by choice. And you're like, what if I should have chosen that one? Like, this one's a little bit different. Whereas when you have three, it's like there's a clear winner. It's like, I know I like that one the most of these three choices.
Yeah, if you relate that to day-to-day life, it's just like if you go to a restaurant with a stupid large menu, I hate that. Like, just give me one page and I won't have any order regret, you know? And that is perfect. I completely agree with this. The paradox of choice with travel just gives you stress. Did I choose the right place? Should I go to the next place? Is it perfect? And you're just refining your perfect area into this unachievable thing where all you do is chase and you're never satisfied. That said, some places are better and worse than others for you. We know that. We know Dakhla is not a paradox of choice for me. It's a bad place for me. We know Puerto is a good place for me.
You had to go sample all those array of places to find that out.
Yeah, but they're saying that's the problem, sampling all these places, you know?
So do you think it's a problem?
I think it's a problem if you're addicted to looking for something better. I think it's not a problem if you're interested in seeing new things and experiencing life more, different aspects of life. And I think those are very different. I mean, this is the running away versus the, expansion.
Running to.
Running to. Yeah, exactly. I think it all comes down to your intent. We talked about this in the people that hated Thailand that became digital nomads that were clearly running away from their problems and it followed them while they're traveling. I think it comes down to that. Like, why are you traveling and what are you looking for? And reflecting. Am I trying to get a dopamine high from novelty, or am I actually, curious? Am I good inside and I'm just looking for more novelty or like something, some new experiences. So
I could see how this could exist for some. I haven't felt this so much. I feel like I know a lot of people, when I first started traveling, a lot of people from back home would be like, when you can go anywhere, like, how do you choose where to go? Like, what do you do? But it never, I don't know, somehow for us, I feel like it's always just been like, oh, there was this Wi-Fi trip chapter, or like, Jeff invited me to go here, or like, my friends were there, or I want to go here. It's been kind of easy. I haven't felt quite this paradox of choice that but this is like the dating example that they were giving at the beginning of the post, where it was saying like, in Bali and, Ibiza, like all these places, they're saying it's like because people have so many choices, they're like afraid to choose one. So I can see that. Maybe I have a little bit of that with countries where I'm like, oh, I love this of this place and this of this place. And I've never had a problem with it as I'm traveling, but as I'm thinking about where do I want to like build roots, I feel like that's becoming a little more like, I don't know, there's so many choices. I could be anywhere in the world. Where do I want to go? Whereas I feel like in the past, if I think about when I was in my early 20s, it was like, my job is here. I have to be here. If I want to go somewhere else, I have to get a job in that place, and that's hard to do. And I really have to go with intention. And now it's like, well, let me just flow here. Let me see about that. But I've been grateful for it. Like, I know it's not for everybody, and maybe some people feel it, but I've kind of like you said of sampling, like I'm glad I've had a chance to experience so many different countries and places. And now as I want to settle down a little bit longer or more, like I like that I know, like I have real data of like, where does my body feel good? Where do I enjoy? Where do I feel good? As a baseline, there's gonna be hard days and bad days, but like when I'm back in Atlanta, which is my hometown where a lot of my friends have come back to, and I've thought about for a long time, like, it's like, do I want to be here? Maybe for reasons I will end up near family or friends or whatever, but it's like my body just, I'm not as like lit up here as I am if I'm in Costa Rica or Mexico or Sri Lanka or, like places like that. So it's just interesting to think through like what you prioritize. Yeah.
So I think the takeaway on this one is kind of a mixed bag, right? Because I think I've learned more about myself as a result of all the choice that I've had.
Yeah.
But I can see how it can go easily the opposite direction and get dark pretty quick.
Where it's like paralyzing and then you never make any choice.
Yeah. Or you're just never satisfied.
Yeah.
The number 3, addiction to movement. And it's pretty related to this last one, but the idea is that you're just addicted to the novelty of new things. Like you're chasing dopamine rather than experience and growing as a person. You're just moving for the sake of moving because it hits the excitement receptors in your brain. And I remember that, like the first, oh man, everything was so exciting. And then you keep chasing that dragon and you never get it. And you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. I think that's natural. I think almost every digital nomad hits the wall and is like, this is no longer satisfying. You just kind of go through that phase and you're just like, oh yeah, this is no longer satisfying. I'm no longer getting excitement out of this. What else? What am I actually looking for?
Right.
I don't necessarily see this as a problem. It's like a rite of passage.
Yeah. I look at, so the quote that was in the passage was, we choose movement. The cost is never arriving. I'm on your side here where like, if I had done what I did my first couple of years of Nomad life for my whole entire life, I feel like I would be exhausted, burnt out, chasing movement forever, never settling, never whatever. But I don't feel like I did that. Like it felt right at the time. Like I was excited to, like I had been still for a while and, locked in a job and I lived in New York for a lot of years and then LA and couldn't roam around. And I loved those first years. I don't regret a moment of it. I don't look back and be like, oh, I was just chasing something. Like I was having the fucking time of my life chasing, moving and experiencing and living and like, just like, it was a lot of novelty, but I loved every second of it. And then when I didn't, I stopped and I slowed down or wasn't right. So yeah, I think it's like, I feel like it's kind of the same, even if you look at like people's, in any addiction, we've talked about this on the podcast before, whether it's like drugs or alcohol or porn or gambling or whatever it is, it's like you can do things in a bad way forever and ever and ever. And like, because you don't want to deal with your stuff, but like, I don't like some of those things recreationally aren't necessarily bad when like used the right way or at time, so I don't know. I feel like for me, it didn't become an addiction because when it felt right, I do believe it was right in my life as I was like growing and learning. Like I expanded so much during that time. I wasn't just like moving because I was avoiding things. And at a time like, when it was meant to slow down, I learned from needing to slow down and I learned what it was like to slow down and how that was hard in its own way, but I did that too. So yeah, I would say, I guess it can be an addiction, but it also can just be like, maybe like, I think we go through phases in our life and you might have years of slowness and years of movement. And I don't think it's like as long as you're oscillating between the two, it's good. I don't know.
I think you're right. I think everybody has phases and this is just kind of a phase that people go through most people go through as digital nomad. And again, like I love a lot of the points in here, but it makes this generalization that everybody is doing the same thing. Kind of. It's like everyone is afflicted by these same problems with the lifestyle, and that's not necessarily true. And it's not necessarily true if that is happening, that everybody stays in that phase. So yeah, again, I take shades of this as accurate.
That's fair. And everybody's living the life so differently. It's not like, I feel like it's a generalization to be like, everybody moved to Bali and then they're skipping to Ibiza and then they're doing this and they're not getting into like we know a lot of nomads like in relationships, nomads who have gotten married, like all of these things. So I don't think it's fair to like put the blanket across everything. I'm sure there people are, but yeah, that's my take on it.
Okay. And the fourth theme is the sacrifices that people aren't willing to talk about. What it actually costs you, admitting what it actually costs you to sign up for this kind of life. Things like it talks about dating depth, like how do you date somebody if you're constantly moving? How do you form long-term friendships? How do you build community, knowing what home feels like, being around for family events and all these things that you would think of with like a stable, stationary life. I've got a lot of problems with this. And I'm going to start with saying, assuming that a physically stationary life is superior. It's almost like I get this theme throughout this. Like being physically stationary is required for all of these good things to happen. And that's assuming everybody's wired the same exact way. Not wired this not wired this, and not that people are broken the same way. This is almost assuming, it actually says these people in here are broken, I think in one section. And no, I'm saying that they are maybe wired a little bit differently. We talked through the different personality types before. Certain people who are the more, I can't remember the archetype, but they're explorers. And if you force them to stay in one location, for example, you're in suburbia hell, USA, you are clipping off their wings and they feel suffocated. Yeah. And okay, maybe a lot of these things are great for some people. Having all of the family events all of the time, having the routine in the community. For other people, that's a fucking nightmare. Like that is, and it's not because they're broken. It's because they feel like that's not how they want to spend their life. You know, these are not goals of them, and it's not because they're broken. You know, and we see things like they talk about dating depth. Sure, I can see that because people have so many options and they're constantly looking for better. And you can see that in digital nomad lifestyle. However, you see a lot of people that have I've got so many friends that are married and traveling, that have excellent relationships and they're traveling, and they form that depth while traveling because they were traveling. They may not have formed that at home. Also, I'm going to argue dating depth is gone in general. Dating apps have killed that, right? So, like, is this a digital nomad problem,
right,
or is this a dating problem?
Experiencing the same thing.
Same exact thing. Long-term, they're making an argument against long-term friendships. The most in-depth, the best friendships I have are from travelers, and I stay in touch with all of them. And I've formed more depth with them than the total number of people I've formed depth with at home and through school and all that stuff. I'm calling outright BS on that one. I understand what they're saying. If you're just moving through and you're not actively building community like we have, sure, people don't form bonds and stuff. But not in our sphere, not in my sphere. It's quite the opposite. Complete opposite end of the spectrum. So I got to call BS on that one. And then, community, sure, same thing. If you're just passing through, it's hard to get community. But if you go through that phase and you start to stay place a little bit longer, you do build communities. So out of all of these, this theme that I see feels a little bit preachy to me. Yeah, you know, am I off base here? What do you get out of this? Give me your...
I was wondering if the person who wrote this was a nomad. Now that I think about it, I feel like she would have had to be to nail kind of what she did. But I think you're right, and we talk about this. I feel like periodically throughout different podcast episodes that it really depends on the person. Like if you look at someone who is in a new country every month, and you know they're maybe posting on a dating profile, like just looking for short-term something, leaving in 5 days, or like, you know, they want to have experience, but they know they're leaving and they're not, and maybe that person doesn't want anything in life too, like who's to say, but let's say they did want, I don't know, let's say they did want it, but they're just like leaving all the time and can't form something, or like they're never making friendships along the way. Like that is a way to do nomad life. And I think it's a really, you know, especially friendships, if you're just kind of coming and going and meeting people for 5 days and you're on to the next place, like I think that is lonely and that is hard. But like you said, the way, like in our sphere of nomad friends, like plenty of people are dating with the intention of meeting like a long-term partner, getting married and having kids, and they're dating and then they meet someone and they're like, all right, well, how do we travel together now? They might not be in one place for a while, but they travel the world together for years in different countries and months together. And like, you know, through friends that we've all made, like we were just in Costa Rica with like 5 to 7 of our friends who we've known. Like I was trying to explain to people how we met. I was like, I met both of these people 7 years ago in Argentina, and I've like been all over the world with them, and I keep on seeing them. So it's like you can make short-term friends that are lasting, and that's lonely, and you have to sacrifice community and friendship or dating if that's the way you choose, or you can find community and friends and partners who want to live this life with you. And it's just like, it's back to like the original nomads were a community that would move together. And we've sort of done that in our own way all over the world instead of, from grassland to grassland of plants or whatever. I don't know. So yeah, I don't think that's like all true. I think it depends how you do it and who you are. But I do think, if we go back to kind of like the question on this is like, what am I actually willing to sacrifice? Like, what are the sacrifices of nomad life? There definitely are some, right? And maybe it's different for everybody. And like, for me, it has been sort of like, I don't know where to quite call home. Like, I have all these amazing friends who I do see maybe once or twice a year, or sometimes longer, sometimes for a lot of months at a time. But like, there's in between times where I'm like, fuck, my friends are spread all over the world, and I might be talking to them and voice noting all day, but like, I wish I could just pop over to their house and sit on their couch, and I can't. Like, that's hard. There are times where you miss family events, or you choose, I do come home for a lot of like weddings or holidays or things like that, but there might be times where I am at a peripheral friend's wedding invite that I don't come home for, or there's like the casual get-togethers or things that happen, or my niece and nephew grow up in ways I don't see them for a couple months, or it's like there definitely are sacrifices. So I don't want to be short about that, but it's going in of like, what are you sacrificing if you stay as well? And for me, it's like, I don't get to see the world. I didn't get to expand the way I have. I didn't get to meet so many amazing people. I wouldn't have started this business. I wouldn't have, I used to dream, like, I feel like we have so many friends who is, are like dying to escape to Mexico for the beach for their 1 week of vacation. And, so many times I'm like, I'm just living vacation and I'm working, but like, I get to live here. Like, I get to find those places that light me up. So that does come as, I guess, what I would say, there's a lot of truth, and there are some things you have to sacrifice. I don't think it's all the things she necessarily mentioned in this, but it's like looking with any parts of life. I guess this is the you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's like, what are you gaining by living nomad life? And is that more important to you than what you are sacrificing? Because both take sacrifices. Staying in one place is a sacrifice as well. You are missing out on the world, on new people, on new experience. So both are true.
Yeah. I think I like that thing that you said at the end the most. I think that's the most telling. Is that you're making a sacrifice. You're making a decision to not travel as well. To be stationary, physically stationary, is a sacrifice as well. And there's this broad assumption throughout this post that being physically stationary is the way and it's better. But you'd referenced nomads of the past, and actually not even nomads. Like, if you go back to our very beginning, there's nomads, but there's like quasi nomads too. Most people weren't fully stationary. Tribes moved around quite a bit. Even if they did have a location, they still went to summer camp and winter camps and moved with the herds and all of these things, right? So there was. It's not like we're bucking this 100,000-year evolutionary trend. And this is what we were born to do to some extent or another, and it works for some people and doesn't work for other people. But it's painting this broad brush that's the way for everybody. I had a conversation with my brother the other day. He's just very, very content with the suburban life. He's got going to an office 9-to-5 job. He's got a routine Monday through Friday, timer on the coffee pot, and fully content with life. And I told him the other day, I'm like, I really am jealous of you. Like, I really am. I see how happy you are with the routine and with what you've been given in life, and you are content. And I can't have that. And I know I can't have that. And I've tried to have
Wait, what do you mean when you say I can't have that?
I can't be happy like that. I can't.
You wouldn't be happy if you were living this. You could live it, but you wouldn't be happy living it as well.
I've done it. I've tried it. And I just... And this is implying, this whole thing is like, well, you need to stick through the hard things. You need to stick it out and be committed to something. I've done it and it doesn't work for me. Like, and I'm not running from anything. I'm just not built that way. It doesn't work for me. And some people are different. I'd like to have that work for me because it would make life a lot easier. Make things a lot easier. Make dating a lot easier. Make everything a lot easier, but I don't like it, and I can't change that about me, and I'm not broken, and I'm not running from anything. It's just that's not who I am. So this one is struggle. That's
a really good point.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. Add to that, as you were saying, I love what you said at the end of like, it's like honor. We're not knocking the people who do live a stationary life or choose it or are really happy doing it, it's like power to them. And you, as you said, I'm like, I wish I wanted that, because it is easier to me in many, many ways, but I'm also not built that way. But I was thinking of like the implications or the assumptions that like when you're in one place, how much easier it is because you get to be near family and you get to be near friends and whatever. But like there was a time where I moved out with a partner to like he took a job in California when we had been living in New York. My family was in Atlanta, and we were stationary in Los Angeles, and we didn't have our group of friends. I was across the country from most of my friends and family. I only got to see them a few days of vacation here and there, and like I was stationary, but I had also separated myself. So being a nomad, like I think about my college friends who kind of live all over the country as well, and like having the freedom to be anywhere. I don't have to be on the other side of the globe. Sometimes it's like spending 3 weeks back in New York with my college roommate who I haven't seen in a while, and I can do that. Or I spend more time with my family as a nomad, being home for like months here and there, versus like when I only had 10 days of vacation, I was living in California or New York. So there are assumptions. I mean, I guess that just assumes if like everybody just stayed in your hometown with all your friends and all your family, but like not everyone does that anyway, even when you are stationary. So again, there's sacrifices, but there's also benefits, and it's like how you look at it. But it's hard. Both ways are hard for different reasons.
Yeah, exactly. And it just keeps coming back to the same thing I'm saying. It's not black or white. It's not a binary thing. You have to do this, or you have to do that, because you're all built the same way. It's not true. Yeah. It's just not true.
Yeah. All right, what's number 5?
Number 5 is the generational rebellion. Our parents stayed, and we said never, so we did the opposite. All right, I'm so guilty of this. Like, anytime somebody tells me I have to do something, immediately I'm going to do the opposite. Never. I don't know. What is, I guess it's a rebel. There's something about...
The rebel personality.
Is that what... Yeah. Like, it's when somebody tells me, an authority figure tells me, I'm going to argue with them. If an authority figure tells me to do something, I was always that kid that's like, why? Explain it to me. Like, I don't, no. Like, I just don't trust people that tell me that I have to do something a certain way. I might end up doing that way, but I have to figure it out myself. Like,
do you think if everyone said you have to live nomadically, you would be like, I'm going to go find a home?
Yep.
That's funny.
Probably.
Interesting.
Yeah, probably. Funny. And I know you got something to say on this one.
Oh, on this? I don't know.
You've got a rebellious streak in you. I know you do.
Oh, yeah, I do. I don't know when it happened. I was like not a rebellious kid in the way that you were. I was like very by the books, very by the rules. And then, I don't know, in my mid-20s, I was just like, had the quarter life crisis and broke free to all rebellion. But yeah, I guess I've never liked being told what to do. I've always wanted to do my own thing, so maybe that's a part of it. It's funny though, I don't look at my parents and think like they stayed, like I must leave. Like if they wanted to move, like they don't live in their hometowns where they grew up. They like live where they met in college and stayed. And so I don't feel like personally, I don't feel like that generational rebellion, but I do see it more almost in the way that people look at jobs of like, the previous generation was more of like, you do one thing and you do it for 40 years and you get a pension and you don't leave your company. And like, I feel like that feels more accurate almost than like supposed to stay in one place. But this wasn't possible to live the digital nomad. Like Wi-Fi changed everything for this. And there were some people who really were like the groundbreaking nomads who just kind of had to find temporary work of like bartending or working on a farm or working in a hostel, like, you know, like as they moved around from country to country. Like those are the fucking OG nomads who like really
those are the work and travel people. They worked at hostels doing laundry,
like anywhere they could find seasonal work or
for
like
surfing up and down. Yeah,
that's true. So like I just think it was harder to an option in the same way that it is today. Now with like your laptop and a job, like people can do work from anywhere. So it's kind of like a new option. So I don't feel like I've done it out of rebellion. I feel like it's like, I don't feel like the quote, it said, our parents stayed, we said never. So we did the opposite. As I read that, I remember, I think just in general, having the rebellion streak of like like you said, anything someone tells me to do, I'm like, no, I'll do the opposite. But I feel like it wasn't that I was running away from something I didn't like from other people. I just learned that this was an option and I wanted that for myself. It sounded really appealing because I wanted to see the world. There was just so many places I wanted to see and it wasn't possible if I didn't live this way. So
You know what? I agree with you. I think I started that way, and I've developed a chip on my shoulder, as we've talked about, like Western's expectation of what success means, going to the office, getting the job title,
Right.
buying the house. And as I've moved out of the corporate life and looked at that, and we've talked about that with The Pathless Path, the book with challenges, all of these ideals. Now I've got a chip on my shoulder. I say, fuck you, I'm not doing any of that stuff. So maybe I didn't start that way, but then eventually kind of
Right.
Now I've got an extra reason to
Yeah,
rebel. I'm looking for
interesting.
reasons to rebel, though.
We always are.
Not a good.
But it is funny that neither of us started that way, and then I think it kind of became that way for both of us when, as we did it, people looked at it and were like, that's a cute thing you're doing. Like, it'll be nice when you come home again. Like, pat on the head, you know?
It's condescending.
And I think when both, the condescending part of it, I think it's like when people started to look at our lives in that way, both of us became a little more rebellious of like, watch me. Watch what I can do. Like, so it didn't start that way, but it kind of became that way.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Once people started doing that you'll get it when you're older. It's like, didn't you just finish complaining to me about going to soccer practice and telling me not to have kids for the last week straight? And now you're doubling down? It's like, oh, well, all right. I remembered. All right, let's go to number 6.
This is a big one.
Loneliness. Yeah, and this comes up all the time with digital nomad conversations. And it's like, okay, so it talks about it. It's kind of like the central theme to this whole thing regarding digital nomads.
True.
I think it's true. I think if you become a digital nomad and you don't find your community, it can be very lonely. We read those articles. I don't remember the episode names, but it's like the through point in every one of these articles is they become lonely. I saw that when I first didn't know what digital nomad life was and just went to San Diego with nobody and lived there for a month just to see what it was like to travel and work. Yeah, it was lonely. But when I found my community, it doubled over the other side, so if I was like 50% fulfilled going into an office, getting the community, and then I became a nomad alone, I was 0% fulfilled. And then when I got my digital nomad community, I was 100% fulfilled. So you can
I love that. That's really
kind of
great
go,
way to look at it, that it's not binary. It's whatever you make of it.
You got to do it. You got to do it the right way. I think there's a wrong way and a right way to do it. And then I'll also say, like, we have a loneliness epidemic in general in Western society. Like, this is well documented. People are wildly lonely right now. I'm not even qualified to talk about why. I could talk about the digital nomad angle, but I mean, this is not exclusive to our lifestyle. This is just rampant. People are struggling with this. So I don't know if I would just say it's because of digital nomad life. There's so many reasons for this that I don't know. I couldn't even get into that. So
yeah, that's a good point. The quote here, it said, "We became the freest generation in history and the loneliest." But I don't think I don't think the freedom is what caused that. I know you said you're not like I think we're qualified to at least give opinions. We can't be like factually of why it's happening, but like we've talked about this a lot on the podcast, and this is one of the biggest things I learned while nomading was the loneliness that people have at home. So if I think about like college and why it was so fun for me is like my senior year, I lived with like 11 of my friends. We had friends in our house all the time. Everybody lived within like a 5-10 minute walk tops from our house of all of our friends. So it's like you have this whole community of people who you can just like walk by. You have friends, like people, I don't know, it's like it's almost kind of the way that villages live together. I feel like college life is kind of like the closest you can have to that, depending on where you go to college and what you make of it, for sure. But that was my experience. And I look at life today as people are now like, you want the biggest house possible behind the gate. You have your your individual family. And again, like I love a big house. I'm not knocking that at all. But when you think about just like when I'm in Atlanta and I live in a house or a condo, wherever I am, like my best friends when I'm here from home are like a 25-minute drive away. And so many times they might be like, come over. And I'm like, I'm just not going to go do that right now. Like I'd love to swing by for 15 minutes and just like sit and chat for 5 and then like head home. But you're too far. Like I'm just not going to. So instead I'm going to be alone at home at times. And even just like if you think about the way people have kids, there's not a village, and it's like you have to hire babysitters, or you're isolated if you don't find your village to kind of like help you with family, or I don't know. I just think that the way we make plans where you want to see a friend and they're like 3 weeks from now, next Tuesday, let's grab coffee or dinner, and you're like, great. Like I was trying to make plans with my friends when I came back home, and it was like either we meet tonight or I'm not available for like, all of us couldn't meet for like 3 weeks, like literally. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think there's something that has nothing to do with nomad life and moving around, but like there was a loneliness epidemic in general, and then maybe add in social media, feels connected or not connected. There's so much, science there. So I know it's not everybody's experience as a nomad, but like what you explained of like, if you do it, quote, right, or in an intentional way to build community, like you could there's been times where I've solo traveled. It's like the loneliest thing in the world at times if I'm not out and about trying to meet people. Or when I'm traveling, the month that we just spent in Costa Rica together, where we had a group of 5-6 of us in a house and living together, and it's like so much fun because I'm like, I'm going to the beach, want to come watch sunset with me. We cooked like, I think almost every dinner we had is like a family dinner that someone was cooking, and it's like so lovely. And every one of my friends from back home traveling, whatever, knows I will die on this hill where I'm like, at some point I will have a compound. Like I will make it happen where I still like my individual space, but like I just want to be in walking just like giant land by the beach where everyone has their own house, but it's all my favorite people, like with 10 individual houses, 20, I don't care, whoever it is, because I love that casual life. And I like the only duplication I have found since college is nomad life, of like the way that we have all, and it's intentional, not everyone living nomad life is living this way, but like we have found amazing community that we've lived with or nearby, or we intentionally all go to a place and get apartments super close to each other, and we're like, there's so much more fluidity of just like, hey, come over for dinner tonight, I'm bopping over here, there's a bunch of people meeting here, like let's all I don't know, it's more fluid, and it feels so much more community and less lonely than life in the States. I will say that for sure. So I don't think it's, as you said, I don't think it's nomad life is caught, like it's not people moving around. There are people doing that. If you're just solo traveling, it's lonely as fuck, and that would feel terrible, and community would be the missing ingredient, as it said. But I think for me, nomad life has sparked a reminder of what's possible to have community and like friendship around all the time in whatever way that looks like.
Yeah, to me, it felt like it's nostalgic, like going to camp when you're a kid. Like, oh my God, I've got all my friends, like they're right around the corner. I can go and drop in here and see this person. How amazing. It's just, it can be unbelievably fulfilling. Like in a way that you forgot existed, so loneliness is a problem of lifestyle. It's not location. It's what you value. If you value community, you'll find it. If you don't, you'll build your walls. Simple as that.
And locations, I think, can make it easier. Like, there's places that we've, like, when you go to Puerto Escondido, there's people just hanging on the corner. Everybody goes to play volleyball at sunset. Like, I haven't even been there, and I know that, like, is your lifestyle there. So there's destinations you can go to that, like, where I live in Costa Rica, when I'm there, it's like a walking town. Everybody's around. You kind of know everybody. Just play pickleball with the people who are nearby. It's like I don't know, there's places you can, so I almost think being a nomad gives you that benefit of, like, you can move to a place where it's a less lonely place, and some cities or destinations are more isolated or just don't lend itself to that kind of community as easily.
Yeah, completely agree with that.
All right, what's next?
Okay, yes. The next one is one that I completely agree with, in that it's implying that the lifestyle isn't the problem. It's more like the way that you do it. So it's not like they were saying, it's not Lisbon, it's not Bali, it's the nature of this lifestyle. So I think it's kind of a correct take, in that if you go in with the wrong intentions and you do it incorrectly, if there's correct or incorrect is the right way to put it, but like I would say, when I first started, by just going to San Diego without any friends, without any plan, no community, it was bad. It was all of these things that they're talking about. It was all of these bad things. And I think it was the wrong way to do it, at least for me. So I think, if you go in without a plan and you end up like one of those articles that we've talked about before, unsustainable. You don't plan for Wi-Fi. You burn yourself out, travel too quickly, and you don't build community. Yeah, I think it can be a big problem. And then you end up as one of those articles. So, yeah, that theme I completely agree with. Like, if you do this, hopefully you're able to make it to a place where we're always preaching you've got to do something. You got to do it in a way that's very sustainable, because it's not just a vacation. You don't just go in and be like, oh, it's going to work itself out. Might not. I mean, there's a reason why we have this podcast. We're trying to help people skip over the mistakes that some people make. It's some mistakes that I've made. You know what I mean? So, yeah, there's a lot of that I agree with in that theme.
Yeah, and I feel like looking at it's how you live this lifestyle of whether you will become the problems that it talks about in it or not. And when you say it's like it was saying, these places are the problem or the way, or whether it is or not, but I think about just seeing like two different people who I've seen recently on Instagram. I know this guy who just like, I actually don't know him personally, somehow stumbled across him. He just like left the US up and moved to Bali, doesn't know a soul there. And is sort of like sharing a funny journey every day of like, he's like, the US is imploding. I just moved to Bali. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I think he's been there for 3 weeks and he's like, I don't really have friends yet. But then it's like showing how he's made them. But it's like when you get there, you don't have community. You are lonely. You got to figure out how to date. You don't know if you're going to stay. It's weird. So, like, you might be that example of the post versus I have another friend I know who's now kind of been traveling for 10 years and based herself in Bali. And I see lots of people in Bali who are there more full-time-ish who have amazing community. Like, they're always hanging and, like, living nearby and meeting up in spaces. And, like, they have plenty of great community and long-term friends and dating and married, like all of these things.
That's
so
kind of Diego. I mean, he's more and more becoming a Bali local, right? Like,
yeah, and there's like lots of community he knows of people who have been traveling the world with for years who are there, and like he's traveling with his fiance who he's been with for 10 years. It's like
exactly.
It's just not exclusive. So I think I don't know, but interestingly, like again, if you kind of tie back the post, it's like this is tearing through our Nomad friends for a reason, because there are accuracies to it. And I think it kind of comes back to like, what are you sacrificing? Are you doing it intentionally? Are you running from things? Are you avoiding things? Do you need to slow down? Like, we have a lot of friends who still are moving around quite often, who have been saying for 2-3 years, like, I'm tired. Like, I want to be in one place. I want to have a closet and I want to have a home, but I just don't know where to go. And they're still sort of shuffling around the world, wishing they could find that one place and haven't. And it's like, I feel like I'm that way in some ways too. So we're not perfect. Nobody is, but it's like, it's not that the lifestyle itself is inherently wrong. I think it's like, do you listen to your intuition of what feels right at the time? Are you new and you want to travel fast? A lot of people who live this life just want to like go move to Japan for a year, or live in Lisbon, or move to Spain to be with their husband, or like whatever that looks like. So I don't think the lifestyle itself is a problem, but if you don't do it the right way, all of those things can be very accurate.
You know what? I think after listening to you go on about this, I think the main thing that I'm getting out of this is you have to have a lot of self-awareness for this to work for you.
Right.
A lot of people don't have a ton of self-awareness. And, they're just reacting to emotions in their environment and just not really digging in deep or maybe avoiding thinking about it and feeling things like that. And I think you can run into trouble in a quick hurry when you're traveling around like this and you have certain expectations, and all of a sudden, it can become an addiction. It can become avoidance. It can become all kinds of things that don't work well for you. So I think you bring up a lot of very interesting things with that.
Yeah, and also to say, Jeff and I are not perfect by any means. We are figuring out as we go as well. It's like we're not here to say one is right or wrong or the other, or that we're like perfectly deeply introspective people. Like we fail all the time. We're doing some things right, we're doing some things wrong. It's like we're figuring out as we go too.
To a certain extent, I've felt every one of these criticisms that have been raised in this post. So
I think that's why every one of us is like, oof, is this true? Yeah. Is this me?
That's why my initial reaction was, fuck you. Like, hey, wait a minute. I feel
we're so called out.
I feel too exposed here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
With the break.
Yeah. Okay. Last one. So by doing what we've done and making this choice, did we win, or did we just choose a different trap of doing the 9 to 5 suburban life, kids plus, house, all that white picket fence stuff? Did we go overboard? Did we go too far? Did we overcorrect in the wrong direction, and now we've created a whole new set of problems? And I don't know. We've made trades. We've definitely made trades. Did we make a mistake? Is it better or worse or the same? I don't know if you can say that. It's different. I am better off for it. I wouldn't give it back if that's the answer. Maybe that's the answer. I wouldn't have done it differently. And I won't do it differently. Having seen both sides, I choose this side.
I love that.
So, I don't know. That's such an individual decision. I don't know. How do you feel? I think I know how you feel, but
I really like everything that you just said. I think as I look at it, where it's like, so I said, did we win? Did we trade one trap for another? Like, are we now homeless and lonely and
community list,
other community list and whatever? So I don't think so. But like you said, there are pros and cons to both. There are sacrifices to both. As we were both talking, we're like, we wish we could be like our family and just stay and have that be a little easier. Like, it's hard to live this life. But also, as I look back, would I trade it? No. Would I have done it differently? No. Will I probably still keep doing it in some way, shape, or form? And, maybe I'll slow down a lot. I want a base, but I kind of want to have like 2 bases and see what that looks like and still have the freedom to travel a month here and there. So, yeah, I don't think it's a new trap. I think... as I look at, like, I think, Jeff, if I think about, like, the way you and I have evolved throughout the years of doing this podcast and kind of, like, as we learn, as we talk, where it used to be, I feel like when we first started this podcast, we were all about, like, live nomad life, like, work, get a remote job, and, like, move around every month.
We were almost, like, dogmatic about it. Like, you have to be a digital nomad. You're screwing up.
Yeah, and God, I think what we've both evolved to, that I love, of, like, seeing all the people that we've helped throughout, like, the programs that we have and the courses that we have, is everybody has a different reason. And my thing is, like, I can't understand, and I still can't understand this, maybe one day I will. I guess there's the people who are truly, truly happy being in one place, and if they want to have in-person jobs, I get why that's appealing in ways for them. And as you said that, you're like, that's just not you. Like, I think that was a big eye-opener for me, too. Be like, oh, yeah, like, this just isn't us. Like, some people are happy doing that. But I think getting a remote job gives you the freedom to do whatever the hell you want at any phase in your life, and that's what I love the most about this. If I want to be gallivanting all over the world for 2-3 years in a different country every month because that feels good, I can, and I did. And if I need to slow down or be in one place because I need to be with my family, or I'm sick, or I just am tired, or I just want to be in one place for a little bit, I can. And then if suddenly next month I want to go somewhere else, I can. Whereas I think about when I was living in New York, working for a corporate job, and I had to be in an office, there was times where I was like, I would really love to go move somewhere else right now, and I literally can't because my income and my livelihood and my life is, my apartment lease is all tied to this place that I can't leave, and I didn't like that. So whether you travel to a new country and you're running every day or week or month of the year to a new place, like, that's, do whatever feels good. But I think as I look on this, I don't think it's a trap. I think it's amazing freedom. And I think the quote danger is, like, not knowing yourself well enough to know what is right for you in any phase of your life. But I do truly believe that it's like having the freedom to move if you want, just to spend more time with family in a different state or country if you want, or go to the beach for a month in January when it's winter and you're depressed, go for it. Like, and have a home if you want, or don't if you want, or settle down, or move to a country. I don't care what you do or how you do it, but I don't think it's a trap to have this freedom, but it can be, as we talked about in many ways, if you let it, if you're not aware, and if you're running and never building communities, you've got, there's lots of ways you can do it wrong. I say quote wrong, or just hard.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. I also don't think it's a trap. I think it's I think it's a new set of problems. And I think that people come in maybe with the mindset that this is the magic bullet. This is the fix, you know? It's a magic pill is going to make everything, and you're right, perfect. And then people are like, well, what the fuck? I'm not happy. I'm you know, all this stuff's happening, and the expectation doesn't match the reality because they went in with the wrong intentions. I mean, I relate this back to when I was working in an office in San Francisco. They shut down the office because there wasn't enough of us working out there. I was very excited because I could start working wherever I wanted. And immediately I moved out to a nicer neighborhood where I didn't know anybody. And I thought, oh, no problem. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to build community. It looks like a nice town. And I didn't. And immediately I was completely lonely. I started drinking too much. I was like bad. I woke up on a Monday morning wildly hungover. Didn't know where my phone was at the community pool. Like, no, I'm not kidding. Like it was bad. And I immediately, anytime something like that, I immediately correct my direction and take stock of what's happening, and realize that it was just learning. It was a new set of problems that I hadn't corrected for yet. And this is new to everybody. You know, this working online and traveling is new to everybody. It's a new set of problems, and a lot of people haven't learned to work with it yet. So it's not all this or all that, all right or all wrong. This doesn't work, and you're inherently broken in the land of misfit toys, right? That's not true. It's that you go into the expectation that everything's going to be perfect, and it's not. There are sacrifices you have to make. You get this, you have to correct by doing this, right? Like a lot of people start working remote and they say, I'm lonely. It's because you haven't made a conscious correction to go out and do things, because you used to get that naturally by going out and doing happy hour with your business. Like, you're not going out and building community. You have to put effort into this because it's no longer there. So it is a trade-off, and I agree with them. However, it is like, it's a new learning experience for everybody, and it's not all free. You have to pay in certain areas, and you have to overcorrect in certain areas because it's completely new.
I love that. I think it's really said, just to be like, it's just a new, different set of problems. And it goes back to, I think my big takeaway from all this is just like, you're just choosing what to sacrifice, and they're different sacrifices for both lives. And I don't know why the example that was coming to my head, I think I mentioned this family who I follow on Instagram who lived on a sailboat for like 3 or 4 years, and then they just like moved off and like went to Italy and did like a boundless life program with like families live together. But anyway, a lot of people I've met some people who live on sailboats kind of like nomadically as well.
You've met lots of people that live on sailboats?
Well, I guess when I was living in Panama, and there was like, I was living on this little island where there was a bunch of, it was like a sailboat. Bocas? Yeah. Like in this like little island of Bocas. It's like a bunch of people lived there. So I don't know. I find it interesting.
Yeah.
And I happen to follow some people who do it. But it's the same of like, you think about sailing life, it looks really glamorous in ways where it's like, you are literally free. Your home is moving with you throughout the oceans. You know, like you look at the Instagram beauty reel of like, you're, you know, in the most beautiful islands, watching sunsets, watching dolphins, jumping off. So, you know, it's like fabulous. And like, grocery hauls are a pain in the ass. Like, things break all the time. It's a ton of work to keep up a boat. So it's like, you're choosing your problems, you're choosing your sacrifices, and you're choosing what you gain from that. So like, you get so much from boat life, and boat life is also hard as hell. So it's like, you get so much and you're making so many sacrifices, so many. Yeah. And nomad life is kind of the same. It's like, you get everything and you're sacrificing certain things. Staying at home, you're getting things and you're sacrificing others. So if I look at like the whole picture, like you said, it's like, it's just a new set of problems, a different set of sacrifices. What are you choosing? How are you intentionally building it? Because there's ways to overcome everything that this woman said, or every one of those things could be accurate for you. It just depends how you're living it.
Yeah, you're right. Every one of those things could be accurate for you. And as I mentioned earlier, like at some point, a lot of these things have been accurate for me.
Yes.
But it's not, I know I'm droning on here, but it's like, it is important to me. Like, it's not just try it one time and say, oh, it's not everything I thought it was going to be, and give up. You know, like this whole article is saying that people are giving up too early on things. You know, that's kind of one of the main themes. You're not sticking around and doing the hard thing. Well, right. You're not sticking around and doing the hard thing as a digital nomad. either. You're taking the easy way out and then saying, why is this not working? Because you didn't put work into it. It's the same exact problem that they're saying they have with the digital nomad stuff. And saying, well, it's your lifestyle that's the problem. No, you're saying on one hand, it's your choices that you're making to not be stationary, but it's not the choices that you're making as a digital nomad. Like, you can't have this article wants to have both.
An interesting way to look at it. It's like if everybody had always been living a nomad life and someone chose to stay, they'd be like, why are you staying? Are you doing this stuff? It's lonely if you don't stay and move around with everybody. Like, yeah, that's funny. So,
exactly.
Yeah, maybe stick it out and do the hard thing of living the nomad life and build your community and build your, find your places that you love. And that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it in that way.
Yeah, exactly. So this was a great topic. We went an hour 15 on this.
We loved this.
I want to hear what the audience has to say about that. What kind of poll should I put up? I don't even know what I would ask. I don't know if I could leave it open maybe I'll just leave it open. Just give a comment.
On this
how does this resonate with you? Love
Super
to hear
curious.
from any digital nomads or remote workers if any of this resonates with you or you feel seen, called out. Fuck you moment.
Yeah. Or if you haven't started living this life yet, hopefully let us know. Did this open your eyes to some of the things that maybe you might have encountered and done quote wrong, or that you might be willing to go through the hard parts to figure out and make it work for you so you avoid some of these things that she was talking about. So yeah, super interesting there. And I always meant to say this earlier, but if you're not already on our email list and you would like a remote job or you want a new remote job that lets you work from anywhere, you go to beachcommute.com/email. We send out remote job listings every day, Monday through Friday, and have info about different programs and ways that we can help you. So super, super useful there if you'd like to live this lifestyle. If you found this episode helpful of our rants of all of this, if it opened your eyes in any way or maybe made you think differently, if you could leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify or wherever it is you listen, helps more and more people find it and it helps us keep coming back to you week after week. Anything else, Jeff?
No, that's it. I've exhausted everything I have to say. I'm tired of hearing myself talk.
We beat a dead horse on this one, but
I think so.
It's interesting conversation, so we hope you find it interesting too.
Yeah, and we'll see you again next week.